of Mind Gym, a book by Gary Mack and David Castevens. Optimal performance on the field or in the office requires the proper mental attitude. In his storied career as a sports psychology consultant, the late Gary Mack worked with hundreds of professional and amateur athletes. Many of the lessons and techniques he applied live on in this enduring 2001 classic. Mack's astute, inspiring, and entertaining study of the athlete's mind remains relevant and applicable. His insights and anecdotes offer value on every page to elevate your game in sports and in life. Takeaway 1. Train your brain to deliver positive outcomes. Training your mind elevates your performance and productivity. You can apply specific techniques to maintain your concentration, steer clear of harmful distractions, and persevere through adversity. However, conditioning your mind requires time and dedication, and the depth of your commitment will affect the quality of your results. Achieving your optimal mindset enables a higher level of performance. For example, an NFL field goal kicker struggled in practice when he sensed the head coach watching him. Instead of zeroing in on the task at hand, the kicker became nervous and self-conscious. He allowed negative thoughts to affect his performance. Conditioning your mind means learning to focus on a positive outcome rather than dwelling on any likely bad outcomes. Replacing negativity with positive self-talk promotes a better result. Pelé, the great Brazilian soccer star, followed the same regimen in the dressing room before every game. He would lie down with a towel under the back of his neck and another draped over his eyes, and recall the joyful feeling of playing on the beach as a youngster. He'd remember highlights of his World Cup experiences. Then he'd shift his thoughts to the upcoming match and imagine eluding opponents and scoring goals. When he hit the field, he felt psychologically prepared. Takeaway 2. Mental toughness raises your game to another level. Mia Hamm personified the spirit of the 1999 U.S. women's soccer team, which outlasted China to win the World Cup in a dramatic shootout. Hamm and other mentally tough individuals share similar traits. For instance, they embrace competition instead of backing down. The following characteristics define mental toughness. First, competitive. The competitive challenge led NBA legend Michael Jordan to try to become a Major League Baseball player. Second, confident. Elite athletes believe they can accomplish anything and rarely yield to self-defeating thinking. Golfing great Tiger Woods always considered himself the favorite in any tournament. Third, control. Superior athletes keep their emotions and conduct in check. They maintain focus and composure, even under unfavorable conditions. The fourth characteristic is committed. Great athletes know what they want and how to get there. Their motivation comes from within. Former tennis great John McEnroe says commitment separates Grand Slam level players from equally gifted players who never make it. Fifth, composure. Top performers don't get rattled. How they handle their feelings makes the difference between winning and losing. Great players acknowledge, for example, that referees make bad calls, but instead of pointing fingers and blaming, they endure and overcome. Sixth, courage. Outstanding athletes embrace the risk-reward dynamic. Some mountain climbers reach the summit, while others stop halfway and camp out. And the seventh characteristic is consistency. Mental toughness means finding the strength to play regardless of how you feel. Excuses are unacceptable. Takeaway 3. Let go of what you can't control. Hall of Fame pitcher Greg Maddux says the most valuable lesson he learned in baseball was that he couldn't control anything on the field except his pitching. Success or failure in sports or life is your responsibility. You choose your path and the way you respond to life's ups and downs. Successful people understand they are in charge of their reactions. Blame is not in their vocabulary. During spring training in 1994, author Gary Mack discussed responsibility psychology with pitchers from the Seattle Mariners. Following the presentation, he got a call from the new coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Buddy Ryan, who asked Mack to stop by his office. Mack had worked as the NFL team's counselor for 6 years and wanted to continue under Ryan. The coach said players and coaches gave him positive feedback about Mack, but he had decided to fire Mack anyway. Mack was stunned and disappointed. He felt a flash of anger. and briefly fantasized about jumping over the desk and physically assaulting Ryan. But he remembered what he had just taught the pitchers about not reacting to things beyond their control. Mack wished the new coach success and shook his hand. People are often their own worst enemies. Anxiety and doubt most deeply affect those with low self-esteem. If you don't believe you can succeed, you probably won't. Any of the following can stand in your way until you learn to overcome them. First, fear. Human beings respond to threats with a fight-or-flight response. But most threats don't jeopardize your physical well-being. They psychologically threaten your sense of self. Second, anger. Unless you check it, anger can dominate your emotions. Anger typically emerges when you feel frustration or think that you fell short of expectations. Third, anxiety. This impending sense of doom goes beyond the anxiousness that everyone experiences sometimes. Some pitchers who look great in warm-ups underperform when they step on the field. Anxiety is the cause. Fourth, self-consciousness. Some athletes worry about making mistakes or embarrassing themselves. Image is more important to them than doing their job. The fifth thing that can stand in your way is perfectionism. Fear of failure often fuels this drive for perfection. Self-critical athletes never feel satisfied. Critical parents and coaches can cause young people irreparable psychological damage. Sixth, stubbornness. Unwillingness to learn or change prevents you from reaching the next level. Stubborn athletes are more comfortable with the status quo. Seventh, lack of motivation. You either have it or you don't. No one can give you motivation, and you won't find it in a store. Eighth, competitiveness. Unpleasant childhood experiences in sports can temper the desire to achieve and succeed. And some people are lackadaisical and unwilling to work hard. Ninth, distractions. Some athletes lack the discipline to avoid harmful diversions. For example, substance abuse plagued former New York Mets outfielder Darryl Strawberry during his entire career. Entitled athletes don't believe society's rules apply to them. 10th, persistence. Athletes such as pitcher Jim Abbott and quarterback Kurt Warner remained optimistic and motivated despite challenging circumstances. Abbott, born without a right hand, had a 10-year career in the major leagues and threw a no-hitter. Warner went from being out of football to leading the St. Louis Rams to a Super Bowl championship. Takeaway 4. To reach your destination, set goals. Successful people set goals because that crystallizes intentions, supplies motivation, and boosts performance. Your goals should be high enough to energize you, yet low enough to attain. Commitment and a willingness to do what's necessary make a powerful combination. Break your long-term goals into achievable steps to build your confidence and make your journey realistic. Swedish tennis great Bjorn Borg recalls the grueling routine he followed for years in his youth, taking after-school train rides to Stockholm to practice, returning home late, doing schoolwork, and repeating the process day after day. Borg said that even if he fell short of his championship aspirations, he'd know his efforts were sincere. Former NBA star Kevin Johnson practiced in the gym every evening, including Saturday nights when other kids were out enjoying themselves. Takeaway 5. Fear of failure is the main obstacle to success. Fear, the biggest opponent of success, can paralyze anyone. Fear of failure increases your odds of failing. It makes you more tense, shortens your breath, and tightens your muscles. Golfers typically get more nervous about a short putt than an impossibly long one because they don't expect to sink the long one. When you're unafraid and relaxed, you're more likely to succeed. Society reinforces fear of failure. Hypercritical and judgmental voices in your head take a mental and emotional toll. They tell you that only perfection is acceptable. For example, a proven minor league pitcher who receives a promotion to the big leagues thinks he needs to be perfect. The pitcher tries to be more exacting and hit the corners of the plate. He doesn't earn called strikes, so he presses harder and falls further behind in the count. It's a vicious cycle. Fear is a normal component of growth and development, yet for people whom fear overwhelms, perfectionism manifests as procrastination. Not taking action guarantees you won't fall short. Failure is feedback, according to former tennis great Billie Jean King. Greg Maddux believes he learned more from failure than from success. Instead of backing down from fear, accomplished athletes embrace it. Michael Jordan reacted aggressively when he faced challenges. Athletes who fear failure are reluctant to leave their comfort zone. They don't like taking chances. For years, Dennis Eckersley was a successful starting pitcher. He transitioned to the bullpen, but didn't become a star reliever until he altered his self-image and accepted his new role. Takeaway 6. When it comes to attitude, the choice is yours. Optimism enables you to see potential and possibilities. Pessimism keeps you passive and stuck. Optimism is healthier. The University of Pennsylvania studied 120 men who survived one heart attack. After 8 years, 80% of the pessimists had suffered a second, fatal heart attack in comparison with 33% of optimists. A positive frame of mind does not ensure success, but negativity virtually guarantees failure. Since just about anything can happen, you might as well choose optimism. People learn attitudes beginning in childhood, but you can change those attitudes. Optimists believe setbacks are temporary. They compartmentalize problems, unlike pessimists, whose struggles spread through every aspect of their lives. When quarterback Chris Chandler received a demotion to the second string with the Arizona Cardinals, he could have sulked and complained, particularly since he believed he deserved to start. After receiving Gary Mack's advice to remain optimistic, practice hard, and stay ready, Chandler ended up in Atlanta and took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Believing in yourself may not guarantee victory, but it does put you in an advantageous position. Athletes have to choose between two internal voices, the disparaging critic or the pragmatic mentor. When Tiger Woods faced a critical putt on the 17th hole of the 1999 PGA Championship, he heard his father whispering in his head, "Trust your stroke." The putt dropped, and Woods went on to win the tournament. Takeaway 7. Control your anger before it controls you. Some athletes, such as tennis great Jimmy Connors, use emotional energy to elevate their game, but emotions that yield to anger are counterproductive. As youngsters, future tennis stars Bjorn Borg and Arthur Ashe threw their rackets. In fits of anger, NBA player Latrell Sprewell choked his coach. Baseball's Roberto Alomar spit on an umpire, and heavyweight champ Mike Tyson bit his opponent's ear. Former Seattle Mariners third baseman and hitting coach Edgar Martinez has a reputation as a consummate professional. He projected a quiet confidence and never appeared rattled. He said he worked hard to regulate his emotions. Losing control in front of teammates, he believed, damages their trust in you. The most accomplished athletes learn to master their emotions.